Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from a Frontier. Thank you for stopping by, I do appreciate it. Home thoughts, plenty of them this morning. Alberto Giacometti's head of a man on a rod. I'll let you think about that because it certainly got me thinking this morning. Jason Pollock, who was one of the first people I followed on Twitter, tweeted, "Sunsets in New York are great, but there's nothing like an epic sunset in Santa Monica." And indeed, it looked really epic. And then I like this photograph from South African tourism. Go to South Africa, a leopard on a night hunt. You can see what I mean. It looks full of purpose, doesn't it? What kills galaxies? Deep space strangulation, says Wired. It's a whodunit on a cosmic scale. What is killing the galaxies? Even they, bright beacons of the skies, meet their eventual demise. The enormous ones burn bright and run out of steam quickly, like rock stars who live fast and die young. And like celebrities, these get the most attention and are the best studied. But the majority of mortals who live without being particularly brilliant or rich count on making it to retirement age. Very interesting analyses. This photograph got my attention. Un homme partage le thé avec son enfant dans un camp de réfugiés au Pakistan. It's a father and a son drinking from the same saucer. Alexander Pushkin, better the illusions that exalt us than 10,000 truths. And I went back to Zygmunt Brzezinski because he tweeted yesterday that the US needs to accept the fact that President Assad is probably the most popular individual in Syria, which he is. But that got me thinking of a few things that Brzezinski had said. The technotronic era involves the gradual appearance of a more controlled society. Such a society would be dominated by an elite, unrestrained by traditional values. Soon it will be possible to assert almost continuous surveillance over every citizen and maintain up-to-date complete files containing even the most personal information about the citizen. These files will be subject to instantaneous retrieval by the authorities. And then second, in the technotronic society, the trend would seem to be towards the aggregation of the individual support of millions of uncoordinated citizens, easily within the reach of magnetic and attractive personalities, exploiting the latest communications techniques to manipulate emotions and control reason. I like this tweet of Paris from Pierre-Yves Revaz, and note the flowers. It's a really beautiful photograph of the Eiffel Tower. Political reflections. President Obama vowed on Thursday to back Gulf allies against any external attack. Hosting the Six-Nation Gulf Cooperation Council for a Rare Summit at Camp David, Obama pledged that the United States would consider using military force to defend them and would also help counter Iran's destabilizing activities in the region. I am reaffirming our ironclad commitment to the security of our Gulf partners, Obama told a closing news conference. The United States will stand by our GCC partners against external attack. My conclusions are that the high-level rebuff, the Saudi king is not there, the Bahraini king is not there, he's gone to a horse show, probably confirms that Iran is largely perceived to be a fait accompli. I liked a couple of photos. Ryan Carter, Sheikh Mohamed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, arrives at Camp David for the US GCC summit. And then Faisal bin Farhan on May the 12th, the Crown Prince, this is Saudi Arabia, and Deputy Crown Prince, met with Saud Al Faisal before heading to the US for the Camp David summit. Going back to Brzezinski in the context of the GCC, he says this, well, he was talking about something else, the three grand imperatives of imperial geostrategy are to prevent collusion, maintain security dependence among the vassals, keep tributaries pliant and protected, and keep the barbarians from coming together. The Iranian Navy apparently opened fire on an oil tanker in the Gulf, say US officials. Shipping industry officials said they were bracing for the likelihood of even more tensions at sea, which could lead to a spike in shipping costs. The Pentagon did not rule out again ordering US warships to accompany commercial vessels passing through the Strait of Hormuz as it did after the last incident. No serious damage was sustained by the vessel and none of the crew members were injured, the statement said. I like this photograph from Navrang. A picture's worth 1,000 words. Modi in China. The AFP photo group tweeted the desperate cries of Rohingya migrants adrift on a boat. And it's just terrible, all these people adrift on boats. AFP Africa, across the gate of tears, Yemen refugees flee to Djibouti. And then obviously the assassination via machine gun or anti-aircraft machine gun fire of the defense minister of North Korea has caught everyone's attention. And I like this one sentence. Ongoing purges suggest that some of the elite have forgotten the volatility of the young Kim. Currency markets, when I came in this morning, the euro was above 114.10. It's now at 113.93. The dollar index 93.41. This is earlier in the morning. Japanese yen now at 119.46. Swissy 0.9127. Pound 157.59. The Aussie has been all over the shop today, now at 0.8039. And in New Zealand we saw a little bit of bearish news out of Frontera. I think that sort of dragged the Aussie down. India rupee 63.525. South Korean won 1086.25. The Real 299.35. It's playing around with that 3 level. Egyptian pound 762.69 and the South African rand 1181.85. The dollar has dropped 1% this week, the most after its New Zealand counterpart. Among 10 developed market currencies tracked by Bloomberg correlation weighted indices, the Kiwi slid 1.5%. Greg Gibbs, a Singapore-based strategist at Royal Bank of Scotland, wrote in a note, "It has been a tough week for dollar bulls like me." The euro has tracked German Bund yields, which led the recent rout in global bond markets. Rates on 10-year German debt slipped 2 basis points to 0.7 Thursday, their first decline this week. And of course, the yield had climbed from a record low of 0.049 on April 17. Both yield and the euro may be near a top, at least for the near term, said this fellow Greg Gibbs. Dollar index, I'll put up a 3-month chart. We've been dragged lower. The Bloomberg dollar spot index it fell to 1149.32 on Thursday, which was the lowest since January the 22nd, and it's dropped 4.3% in the past 5 weeks. So we've had a big retracement in the dollar. Euro dollar, I'll put up a 3-month chart of that as well, but have a look at this image that Schuldens Sooner tweeted. Euro rises in tandem with German Bund yields, and you can see that exactly. The euro up nearly 9% in just under a month against the dollar. And then I like this photograph of the historic Burns Hotel in Stockholm, whose guests have included everyone from Rihanna to the Dalai Lama. And they're talking about how they're going to be laying off some staff. Gold, 1218.34 trading, put up a 3-month chart. Crude oil, front contract is at $60.43. The contract I'm putting up is the July contract, which was at 60.62. I think it's been an almighty head fake and short squeeze. Nanex LLC tweeted wheat futures moved over 8% since midnight today, and I'll put up the image he tweeted. Emerging markets, I like this tweet from STP Pictures, May 13th. The children of Indian labourers play on makeshift swings in Amritsar. CNN has published some wonderful portraits of Africa taken from the sky, and they're about 14 of them, and they really are fantastic. There's one of an elephant, which is lovely. Now let's get to Burundi, where things remained fluid. General Niyombare, who launched the coup attempt on Wednesday, told the AFP news agency, "I hope they won't kill us." President Pierre Nkurunziza has tweeted he is back home, but it's not clear where. He was in Tanzania when the coup attempt against his bid to seek a third term was launched. 5 soldiers were killed in clashes in Bujumbura. General Niyombare told AFP, "We have decided to surrender." The situation remains one of disequilibrium. The coup might have been thwarted, but it remains extremely uncertain as to how things play out. The Burundi President's Twitter handle tweeted that the President Pierre Nkurunziza is in Burundi. I'll put up a photograph of him that he published on April the 16th. However, according to a different report in the Wall Street Journal, an officer with the Presidential Guard Brigade said he saw Mr. Nkurunziza enter the Kampala State House early on Thursday for a meeting with Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni, saying that he later moved to a government installation in nearby Entebbe, the officer said. The coup leader and the president obviously are battling for Burundi's future. They were brothers in arms during Burundi's civil war and now vying for power. Both command loyal forces battling for control on the streets of the capital of Bujumbura. Whichever man wins will hold the Central African nation's future in his hands. The President, Pierre Nkurunziza, is leader of the CNDD-FDD Hutu rebels, 51 years old, came out on top after Burundi's 13-year civil war. Eager to extend his decade-long rule, sought to change the constitution even at the risk of undermining the Arusha agreement that ended the war. Former sports teacher, football fanatic and born-again Christian, little patience for dissenters, but unlike Rwanda, economic benefits have not followed autocratic rule. Nkurunziza is a political and battlefield survivor who devotes much of his attention to his Hallelujah FC football club and believes he has a divine right to rule Burundi. Godefroid Niyombare, career soldier in his 40s, fought alongside Nkurunziza. When the civil war ended, he was named chief of the army and oversaw the building of an ethnically mixed military that helped keep Burundi stable. Niyombare subsequently served as Nkurunziza's top security advisor and briefly ambassador to Kenya before being named head of national intelligence. Nkurunziza loyalists regard him as a traitor after he questioned the president's desire to run for a third term, leading to his dismissal in February. I'll put up a photo of Bujumbura yesterday morning. Private media stations were amongst areas attacked overnight. Elections are in fact looming in several African nations, whose presidents have already served 2 or more terms. These include the Gambia, Djibouti, Chad, all of which have no term limits, as well as Burundi's neighbours Rwanda and the DRC, whose leaders are expected to leave office during the next 2 years. I don't see President Kagame leaving office. This article in Al Jazeera saying Burundians' call for leadership change may reflect a burgeoning African spring. I wrote about the risks, spillover risks, about, and I quoted Virilio about, it's the street that's the important place to win in. And I also wrote in November, Ouagadougou's signal to sub-Saharan Africa. And I was saying then, what's clear is that a very young, very informed, very connected African youth demographic, many characterize it as a demographic dividend. But for beautiful Blaise Compaoré turned into a demographic terminator, is set to alter the existing equilibrium between the rulers and the subjects, and a rebalancing has begun. South African all shares up 9.75% this year, 1,314 points below a record reached in April. Dollar rand, last time I looked, 1181.85. Egyptian pound, 762.69. The Egyptian stock market had a bad session yesterday, down 2.62%. It's down 5.82% year to date, and 17.34% below a 2015 high reached on the 4th of February this year. Nigeria's economy grew by just 3.96% in the first quarter of 2015, a sharp slowdown from the same period last year. The Nigerian oil share is up 2.35% year to date. Ghana Stock Exchange is up 2.57% year to date. Coming to Kenya, Choppies becomes the third global retailer to expand to Kenya after French Carrefour and South African Massmart supermarket, so that's another positive development. Equity Group of Kenya sees opportunity via Ethiopian WTO entry. Equity Group, which is the second biggest bank by market value, expects an Ethiopian entry to the World Trade Organization later this year to provide an opportunity for the lender to expand. We are very optimistic that with the WTO meeting later this year in Africa, Ethiopia may be persuaded to sign up to the organization, and this will open the country for foreign investment, Dr. Mwangi said. Ethiopia is Africa's most populous country after Nigeria. It's among 10 new markets Equity Group is targeting in a 5-year plan announced March 31st and backed by 200 billion shillings of funds. The country's equity intends to include Burundi, Mozambique, Malawi, Zambia and Zimbabwe, with the DRC a priority alongside Ethiopia, Mwangi said. This is what I would be calling the bet-winning horse, going into Ethiopia within the next 2 years, he said. But we would be glad if DRC opened up because it provides the ultimate opportunity for its economy has been growing between 9 and 13% for the past 10 years. Congo has a population of 85 million people. Just 3.8 million have access to financial services. To us, that is a virgin field, he said, so I will be prioritizing these two countries. I'll put up a link for Equity Group share price data. It's down about 4% and a bit year to date. Everready will start selling off its factory equipment after getting approval from shareholders. Nod to sell idle equipment at its Nakuru plant. Partnering with Orbit Chemicals to create a joint 50-50 manufacturing venture. Everready East Africa Managing Director Jackson Mutua said that the firm would move with speed to dispose of various assets and invest in new areas. This gives us an opportunity to diversify into new products which fits in well with our strategic plan that is anchored on diversification. Everready share price data, I'll also give you a link for that. They reported a loss before tax of 248 million last time around. Most of that was due to a charge taken to close down the factory. Kenya shilling improved slightly to 96.046. The Nairobi all share is up 3.0265% so far this year, but is at 14-week lows. It turned 0.33% higher yesterday. NSE 20 minus 2.601% year to date and is at December 24th, 2014 lows. The Nairobi all share, which had closed previously at a 13-week low, yesterday found some steadier ground and firmed at 0.33%. NSE 20 is below 5,000, 4,979. I think bulls want to see that index back above 5,000. It was a busy session yesterday with equity turnover topping 1.335 billion shillings. The shilling snapped a brutal losing streak, which has seen it slide 5.9% before yesterday's rebound. But we should see a better turn in the shilling, given the way the dollar has sold off on the international markets. Sassini reported first half loss. Safaricom, which had corrected 8.26% since releasing its full year earnings, rebounded 1.55% yesterday. KCB rebounded 0.87% on very heavy volume. There's been extraordinarily heavy volume in KCB of late. Co-op Bank rallied 3.409% in a strong session. Pan-Afric went ex-bonus and fell quite dramatically. Athi River was strong, up 2.58%. And Crown Burgess had this meteoric rally since releasing its full year earnings. It's now up 48.64% in 2015. They reported a 55% deterioration in profit before tax, but a 2-for-1 bonus has sent it right up, very near an all-time high. Once again, I thank you for stopping by, and I wish you a super weekend.